So in as I'm like going up to these movies, I always had this like thought in my mind that Up was kind of overrated because so many people just when they think of Up, they only think of the opening scene. You know, oh, it's such a sad movie. You know, the wife dies. It's like, yeah, that happens, but like that's not even a third of the film. Like the tone of the rest of the movie is kind of a different one than the beginning of the film. You know, so I always had this like thought in my mind that it's overrated. Not that it's bad, because I still remembered it being a fine movie. I just kind of had this thought like, oh, it's super overrated because everybody thinks of that one, you know, the one scene, the one moment throughout the film, which kind of annoyed me for some reason. I don't know why. Rewatching it, yeah, that part was sad, you know, boo-hoo. But the rest of the movie is so much better than I remember. That is such a pleasant surprise for all these movies that I've been rewatching. Like, Ratatouille was better than I remember. WALL-E was way better than I remember. This movie was better than I remember. That seems just to be how Pixar is. Like, Pixar is really good. Like, they're good at making movies. This film was funnier than I remembered it. Like, a lot funnier. Not like, you know, blowing milk out my nose or whatever. But, like I was actually chuckling a couple of times. And not at the, like, obvious, you know, baby kind of trailer bait type of jokes, but like some actual just funny bits. That's just something I realized while watching it, like, hey, this is actually kind of funny. It was super endearing. One problem I had with the film is that when they first get to South America after the rainstorm, he's like, okay, we're gonna stop and we're gonna get you a bus pass, you know, get you home. But then after that, he's like doesn't really have a plan on getting Russell home. Like, he's like, I'm gonna take the house to Paradise Falls, and then the house stays there, and I'm staying at the house. So how is Russell ever supposed to get home? Like, that's one of those nitpicky things that, you know, you're not supposed to think about. And it's just something that, like, as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about, like, wow, that's kind of, it didn't ruin the movie or anything, but it just seemed kind of like what was the plan there? The ending was super sweet. I liked the relationship between Carl and Russell. You know how in like superhero films, like origin stories, the character will be like super bad at everything, and then at the climax they're like super good out of nowhere. Well, that's kind of how Carl was with his attitude to things, which it was reasonable. Like in most cases, it is like, okay, I get why he's, you know, quote unquote going God mode, and in this, you know, he's looking through the book and it's like, okay, he found a new I don't know, found reason, I guess. So it's not completely unbelievable. It's just one of those things I figured I'd point out. Like, yeah, he kind of switched on a dime there, you know. But like I said, it perfectly counts for the film. Once again, not one of those things that ruins it. The villain, not really a twist villain. Like, I guess you could call it that. But like, they didn't really set it up to be a twist villain. It's more of he wasn't a villain until he was. You know, someone like Hans from the Frozen movie was always a villain. Like, always had bad intentions with the main characters, but then this one didn't, and then he did. So I wouldn't see it as a twist villain. I just see it as more of a side character who became the villain. Yeah, so the movie really benefited from that. I thought it was fine. The climax was fun. This whole movie is a really good movie. It's not something like, say, Toy Story 2, where I feel like you could just pop it in and watch it. I don't know how to describe why. Maybe it is because the beginning and a little bit of the end are more emotional. You know, I thought that the end was way more emotional than the beginning. Like, that's just me. Maybe it's because I've seen the beginning, you know, drilled into my head. You know, everybody knows about the beginning, and then the ending is, you know, not many people talk about that. I liked the ending way more than the beginning. I know it's a weird thing to be comparing, but it's just, I thought it was sadder. I thought it was more, you know, I thought it was sweeter. The car scene where they're like, red car, blue car, and it's a callback. It's like, oh, that's nice. So here the movie is on my ranking. Like I said, at the time of recording this, I haven't thought of where I would put it, but this is where it would go. I think next is Toy Story 3. So we're entering like the new era of Pixar. We've kind of gone out of the classic era, you know. I think we just like this movie is the end of the golden age of Pixar, which is a long ass golden age, you know, pretty long, basically 2 decades, a little over. But now we're entering, you know, a new era of Pixar. So this is the era of Pixar, not that I even grew up on. I grew up on the back half of the Pixar. Whatever. Toy Story 3 is next. So thank you guys for watching. More review issues coming out at a more frequent rate, hopefully soon. Video over.